So this next sample problem is similar also to one from classwork 1.2, which is the problem about driving your car home from college. So here it says you're driving home from school steadily at a speed of 65 miles per hour for 130 miles. It then begins to rain and you slow to 55 miles per hour. You arrive home after 3 hours and 20 minutes. How far is your hometown from school, and what is your average speed? So when I look at this, I see, well, I'm going one velocity or speed at the beginning, and then I'm going to change. I know the whole time. So there's a lot really going on in this problem. So again, just like in all the other previous problems I've done, I like to start by just drawing a picture so I have a clear idea of what I can solve for where. So I know that I'm going to go from here. So here's school, and here's home. And there are two parts to my trip. So there's the first part, and then there's the second part. And in the first part, I know some information about that. I know that I'm going a speed of, and we'll call it just S1, a speed of 65 miles per hour. And I know that the distance that I actually travel here is, we'll call D1, is 130 miles. Right. Now, what I don't know, what I can easily solve for this, but what I don't know about this trip is how much of the total time was I actually in the first part of my trip. So T1 is a question, but something I can very easily solve here. Now, on this side, I know my speed, so I know at that point I start to slow down, so I'm going to go 55 miles per hour. However, it doesn't tell me anything about the amount of time that I'm doing that or the distance that I'm doing that, right? So D2 and T2 are still question marks here. Now, if I want to know the total, how far I'm going, I need to get here because I know the first part of the trip, it's 130 miles, so I need to know how much is here. Now, the only other piece of information we have is that we know that we're going for 3 hours and 20 minutes, or 3.33 hours, right? So my total time is going to be 3.33 hours, and that's my T total, right? So the process of solving this problem, the first thing that I can actually calculate is the time in the first half. Right? And if I get the first half time and I know the total time, then I can know how much time I'm traveling in the second half. And then if I know the time I'm traveling in the second half and I know how fast I'm going or how many meters I'm covering in that time period, then I can figure out the distance to figure out my total distance. So we're going to start here. We're going to start here by solving the only thing we really can by using speed is equal to distance over time. So speed 1 is equal to D1 over T1. And I'm trying to solve for T, so I'm going to multiply by T on both sides and divide by S. So really you get D1 over speed 1 is equal to T1. So D1 is 130 miles all over your speed, which is 65 miles per hour. So that was pretty easy. I don't need a calculator for that. So 2 hours. So I know that for the first part of the trip, it's taking me 2 hours. Now, if I know my total time is 3.33 hours, well, then that's really easy for me to figure out here. So I know that these two parts added together has to be this. So the time in the second half must have been 1.33 hours to add for this total time. And then again, what I have here is another problem where I just have speed equals distance over time, and this time I'm going to solve for the distance variable. So speed equals distance over time. I'll just multiply by time on both sides to get distance. And I'm talking about speed 2 and time 2 will give me distance 2. So I've got 55 miles per hour. And I'm going to multiply that by 1.33 hours. And I am going to use a calculator for this part. So 55 times 1.33. And I get 73.15. So 73.15 miles. right? So the total distance is going to be the distance in the first half and the distance in the second half. So that's going to be 203 roughly miles. So from here all the way over here, the total distance is going to be 203 miles about. All right. Now, the next part says, well, what is your average speed? So remember that average speed is going to be total distance over total time. Right? So that's really easy now that we have all of the information. And it doesn't matter, like that sounds like a complicated problem to some people, and sometimes they want to add up these two and divide them by two because that's how we do averages. But you got to recognize that these are not equivalent to one another. You're not traveling at speed the same amount of time. If it was half and half, then that would kind of work. But when you're going that fast for a certain amount of time and you're going slower for less time, it's going to affect the average. So the equation is total distance over total time. So total distance would be 203 miles, and total time is 3.33 hours. So if I just divide those, 203 divided by 3.33, I get my average speed during the trip was roughly 61 miles per hour. Okay. So hopefully this sample then will help you solve the problem about driving from college on the classwork if you got stuck on that one.